Such a great interview. You've been through so much, accomplished so much. What are some of the main things that you've learned about yourself in this journey
To learn about myself.
that you have learned about yourself?
Yeah, to
To
learn
learn about
about
yourself.
myself
Okay. Okay, yeah. To keep learning about yourself. Yes.
every day on
Yes.
purpose,
Yeah, I love that.
intentionally,
Yeah.
right? So, the growing never stops. I haven't graduated from this body yet. So I'm
Right.
still in school, right? So there's this narrative that school stops once you graduate wherever level you graduate from,
Mhm.
right? But I'm a lifelong learner. And in fact, I mean, as long as I have my mental capacities, I'm still going to be learning intentionally. And then let's say my mental capacities leave, then I hope that my body will still be learning.
In this Onward podcast episode, Marcus Bell, or Bellringer, talks about how to achieve your goals and his 100 Dayz Impact Challenge. Years ago, Marcus Bell was $75,000 in debt, and life wasn't as easy as it is now. But he managed to go from being in debt to becoming a millionaire and the go-to music producer, songwriter for celebrity artists, all because he learned how to commit to his goals. Bellringer is an American music producer, composer, and musician. He has worked with national and international recording artists, including American artists Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, Italian pop star Gala, British singer Fleur East, and Malaysian-Australian singer-songwriter Chanel. Listen and learn as we talk about investing in ourselves, going from success to significance, electing ourselves, lifelong learning, and so much more. Marcus, welcome.
Hello. So good to be here. Thanks for having me on your live stream and on your podcast.
Yeah, this is fun. I was saying, where are you? And you said you're in LA, and I said I'm in Virginia, and I didn't say the name of the town. Then I'm like Stanton. You're like, I know Stanton. So you've as you toured the country with your music when you were younger, right? You came through Stanton.
Yeah. So when I was younger, the Virginia Opera hired me and put me on tour. It was kind of like a one-man show, a one-kid show, and it was around Black History Month. And so I had put together, some original songs, and I was tap dancing and playing instruments and doing a whole bit around the state of Virginia. And so that was around the time that I actually started a record label, because I was going so many different places, right? And I was already writing music by then. And so there were like thousands and thousands of kids that I was performing in front of. And so that's what kind of got me started in my first business, because I said, well, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to be in front of all these people, and I have this music that I've been creating. So maybe I should do some tapes and some CDs and things like that. And so that's where my entrepreneurship started, actually.
How old were you then when you were doing that?
Well, my first recording happened when I was 12. And so that's when I, released my first song. And so that started me down the pathway of, wow, I really have to figure this thing out. Because at the time I didn't have any music industry. My mother, who was a national tennis champion and civil rights activist, and so she used to tour the country with Arthur Ashe back in the
Oh,
60s.
cool.
And so she played in the US Open and so forth. She knew a little something about mentorship, right? Because most athletes get the power of mentorship,
Mm-hmm.
right? And coaching and things like that to be able to perform at a high level. Same thing with pop stars and everyone has someone that is an advisor to their thinking. And so I've become a thinking advisor for a lot of people, a thinking partner, right? A coach and mentor. But back then, my mother created these opportunities for me to be mentored. People that were like, the one person was like the president of the Family Channel. Another person was an executive over at M&M Mars. And my mother, Carolyn Bell, she's passed away now, but the brilliant thing about it was some people that were my mentors, she didn't know. She would read an article in a newspaper about someone or a magazine or see them on television and reach out to them and say, hey, would you be willing to mentor my son?
What gave her the courage to do that?
Well,
like, some people would be like, oh, I can't call that person. They're famous or whatever. I mean, maybe from her tennis, but.
Yeah, well, yeah, my mother really kind of gifted me with that as well. And I don't know how she would respond to it, but when you have it that we're all human beings, we all at the basic level care about the same things, right? We all seek love, seek belonging, seek for a purpose in life that's bigger than us.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some basic things that we as human beings all connect around. Doesn't matter about politics, doesn't matter about the isms, right? Racism, sexism, all of that. When you get past all of those trappings, those social trappings that we have that keep us from being connected. And if you're starting to see the world from the lens that we are all connected through our humanity, then there's no one that you can't have a conversation with. It could be a homeless person, it could be a billionaire, it could be the president, it could be, the community leader, could be a celebrity artist, it could be an actor, it could be, someone that you really hold in high regard in your community or in your family. And so once you have it that you can have any kind of conversation with anybody, then all of a sudden the doors of possibility for the help that's available to you and the help that you're able to provide increases exponentially. And so when you have that increase of the opportunity to provide value and also receive value, then what's possible?
I was going to say, I would love to interview your mom on my podcast. It's too bad that she passed away. I'm sorry about that. I know you must really miss her, but she sounds like she was an amazing.
Yeah. She passed away on September the 11th. So yeah. And, she's left me such a legacy to hold. There's a grieving process. I didn't really understand grief until she passed away.
That was this past September 11th?
No, 2018.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, 2018 she passed away. And it's like a friend of mine told me, grief and losing someone close, because we were extremely close, is like living with a hole in your heart.
Yeah.
You live and then there's that hole in your heart. And so I'm very happy that there's my legacy, right? And the things I'm looking to create in the world and uplift humanity with my courses like Wealth and Impact Bootcamp and the challenges like 100 Dayz Impact Challenge and my music endeavors and the way I support people. So there's that legacy that I'm looking to leave on the planet. And then there's a legacy that she left me as a caretaker for, right?
Yes. And responsibility.
Well, it's just a responsibility that I've decided to take on.
Yep.
Right? To build and expand her legacy, because she left so much value. See, if we are operating, and so I have a daughter, she's 6 years old, and I think about the legacy that I'm leaving her, right? And if we are creating value in the marketplace, or in the world or in people's lives. And we're capturing that value in a way that can be passed on to others, whether it's a family others, or whether it's a community others, or whether it's the internet others, right? Then we all actually hold a responsibility that we can accept or embrace or not take on or decide to take on, and learn ways to articulate the value that's left us. And so this is the beauty of museums and doing documentaries on people's lives. And you don't have to be a celebrity to have a documentary done on a family member.
Right.
Right. When I think about, there was a moment where I was working on my biography, and I went and I interviewed all of my family. Interviewed my mom, my dad, my grandmother. And when I did the interviews, I learned so much, not just about them, I learned a lot about me. So, I did not know, except for through those interviews, that they used to have a radio and a cassette tape held up to my mom's belly when they slept. And so I was getting music before I was even born.
I was going to ask you, how'd you get into music? That's where it started.
On purpose, right? On purpose.
Wow.
They were gifting me with music before I was even on the planet. See, but I would not have known that unless I had gotten into an interview with them about their lives. And they said, well, Marcus, you've been in music before you were even born. What? What do you mean? Right? And so the value of relationships and actually talking to your family, and I've videotaped them. I use audio recordings and so forth. So I have that material in my library of family archive, and anyone can do that.
You're right. I mean, we're here with COVID and we've been, somewhat restricted, but we all have Zoom, we have the internet. There's ways to, get to know our family members, other friends, and make our own documentary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this is one of the things that I talk a lot about with some of the seniors that come into the Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, right? Mm-hmm. See, a lot of people have it that, oh, I'm retired. Oh, I'm 70 years old. Oh, I'm 80 years old. I'm at the last chapter of my life. Like there's nothing left for you to do. Mm-hmm. Right? And actually, there's so much more for you to do. And if you're living life from that lens. So when I think about some of the participants that are seniors that have started businesses, that have started movements, that have taken their most important thing that they care about and gone after it and created community around that, it's awe-inspiring. When I think about an 85-year-old who's having the time of his life, okay, on the board of different businesses, that has these practices of meditation and walking and more active than some 50-year-olds at 85. Mm-hmm. When I think about the woman that I met on a plane, that I was traveling from Paris back to LA, and the whole plane ride, okay, was talking about from 65 to 87, how she went back and got her master's, how she took on these poetry practices and was talking about releasing a book of poetry. So there's the opportunity, to capture the legacy of the people that we love and care about, right? And that history, just as I think it was Susan that put in the chat, yes, there, around how important that is as we age. But then there's also the opportunity to capture that from our younger folks. I have a whole note section in my phone of things, of wisdom nuggets that my 6-year-old has given for it.
What's her biggest one that you remember? What would she advise us? What's her wisdom?
Well, one of the things that she asked me when she was in preschool, okay, I was driving her to preschool, and she asked this question. Baba, she calls me Baba, and we adopted her in 2019. She said, Baba, and she's sitting back in her car seat. How do we know what's real?
So how did you answer that?
How
That's amazing.
do we know
what is real?
What is real? Now, so me as a student, an armchair student of philosophy, okay, was fortunately in that moment as I'm picking up my jaw from the steering wheel, I said, I don't know. What do you think? And then I followed it up with, Melanie, the question that you asked is such a powerful question. And do you know that the people that ask those kinds of questions are called philosophers? And so you are a philosopher in asking that question. And thousands of years, people have been asking that same question. Mm-hmm. What is real? So this is just that question. Like, I mean, we could spend an hour just talking about the question from my 6-year-old daughter about what is real. And these are the questions that are worth considering as we look at things like success, right? Well, what is real about success? See, I like to support people about these kinds of things, like not about creating success, but going beyond success to significance. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about people that get success, like let's say winning a Grammy, or friends of mine that I've supported that have gotten Grammys or won Oscars or big awards or lifetime achievement awards or whatever that is, once you achieve that thing that you're going after, no matter what field you're in, whether that's you're looking to become a general, right? Yeah. Or you're trying to raise your status in some organization, whatever it is, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever that thing is, you want to try and get beyond the $1 million threshold in your business, or whatever that thing is. Once you hit that goal, well, then what? Yeah. And so I like to work with people on the then what's, because you will hit them if you put in deliberate practice and you take certain, everything is, as far as I can see, is attainable. Of course, some things, you have to use some accurate thinking for and things like that. But if you look at the world as there's a wealth of knowledge available, right? And if you look at the world that you can actually reach out to anyone, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's here on LinkedIn or on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, that you can actually reach out to someone, right? And you can find out and seek specialized knowledge in areas that you don't know. And if you put in deliberate practices, which are kind of some of the substance of the 100 Days Impact Challenge, 100 Days with a Z. Yes. Is, you can organize your life and your actions and activity to actually achieve that goal. Because usually left to our own devices, you're not going to do it. No, just circumstances. This happened, that happened. You got to be focused. I love what you just said, because that happened to me. I was achieving, made senior executive with the Navy. And then I'm like, something's still missing, like significance. Then what?
And my LinkedIn, my banner now has a bowl and a goldfish jumping out, and to me, that's like leaving my comfort zone. It's like what I call my retirement a graduation. I'm graduating from working for the Navy, and I've got a sea of possibilities. It's not retirement, it's graduation, and I'm so
Oh,
excited.
I love that. I love that. It is not retirement, it's graduation. I'm going to be using that from now. I'm gonna borrow that from you, Emily.
You can have it.
Because yeah, because it's like it occurs to me like that as well, right? That you're graduating from one aspect of life to another aspect, right? You're reinventing, right?
Right?
You have the opportunity to reinvent. And
Yeah.
so then what? Right? Right? So you've made it. And that points back to what's real. So a lot of times, you hear people say things like, wow, that was unreal.
Mhm.
Right? That was
Mhm.
unreal. It seems like, wow, I was working all this time to achieve this goal and I made it. Is that it?
Yeah.
What's real here? Right? What relationships are real? Right? What are
Mhm.
they based on? What is the foundation based on? So, I stand for dignity and compassion for myself and others, right? So my relationships have that as a foundation, right? Where does dignity and compassion exist inside of a relationship? But then where does dignity and compassion, exist inside of my business, inside of my boot camps and challenges and courses and the support. So that is a foundational principle.
I love it. Yeah, that I want to ask you. So I want to get into a little bit about your challenge, but first off, what the heck? How did you go from being 75K in debt, life wasn't as easy as it is now, and then becoming a millionaire and the go-to music producer and songwriter for all these celebrity artists?
Yeah.
How does
So
one do that?
okay. So I had to unlearn a lot of things.
Hmm.
I had to unlearn a lot of things. And so I've been helping people with things like that, right? Based on my experience. And so I'll never forget, when I was heavily in credit card debt to the tune of $75,000. And I was wondering, wow, how am I going to pay my rent this month? At that time I was just a musician that was kind of hand to mouth. So I hadn't learned how to articulate my value in the marketplace. I hadn't learned about how to manage my resources powerfully. I had it in my mind that before I started investing, I needed to, have a certain amount of money. After I have this, then I'm going to do that. Right?
Right.
That's inaccurate thinking. The time to start investing is first start investing in yourself. Okay. First, there's the investment in what's between your ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your
And
mind.
that's the most valuable investment that you can make is in your thinking, is in accessing specialized knowledge, right? And so I started working on what was going on in between my ears.
I
And
love
so
it.
the first step was, well, wait a minute, okay, this is not workable. I'm not going to call home and ask for rent money again.
Again,
Right?
you had done it
Right?
before.
I
Okay.
just right. I have to become self-sufficient here, right? And there's no reason why I can't. There's just something that I don't know that I don't know, right? So there's what I don't know, and then there's the world of I don't what I know what I don't know.
Right. Well, at least you knew that you didn't know what you didn't know. You knew
Yeah, well,
something that you didn't know something.
I had to take some training to get that one. Right. And so I had to go and find some mentors. And my mentors at first were a whole bunch of books about how to get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I said, okay, I'm going to put myself on a 2-year get out of debt plan. And I started consuming. I must have read over 20 books around finance, personal finance, and started getting in here. Right now, I'll be listening to podcasts, I'll be watching YouTube videos, I'll be doing, all the things that I do when I get interested in an area and get curious and about something. I like to deep dive, and I'll read all the books that I can find and the books that the books talk about and all of that.
Let me guess. Did you get out of debt?
Well, I'll never forget that I was sitting in the studio apartment in New Jersey, and there was a $7,000 credit card left. And my girlfriend at the time, she became my wife. I said, I've been working on getting out of debt. I hadn't really been talking about it a lot. I just was taking the actions, like the deliberate actions, like the 100 Days Challenge. Like every single day I was doing something towards that aim. And I said, this is my last credit card and I'm about to pay it off. And she said, do it. Right. And I'll never forget hitting that button to that last $7,000 credit card paid off that night. I'm out of debt. And then therein lies the next problem. Now what? Now what? Right? So not long after that, I got this big check for a music project or, I had been working on or whatever. And I was faced with another problem. What do I do to build wealth now? And by that time, I had, some multimillionaire friends, some centimillionaires, some decamillionaires, and I think I maybe knew one billionaire at the time. And so I started asking them, well, what would you do with this resource? And so I started compiling what other people were doing with their resources. So now I help other people, right? With what I've learned, right?
Yeah.
Wealth and Impact Bootcamp. When I talk about and think about the people who have become financially independent out of Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, okay? Thank you, universe, God, family, environment. Thank you all for all of that. My experiences, my failures, my not knowing, my ignorance. Thank you, my naivete. Thank you, because by me learning what it took and what is needed in order to go from being in the negative to being able to start building wealth in an intentional way, like knowing what the drive, I'm in 1 now. Okay, time to move up to 2. Let me go back and revert. Okay, I need to park it right now. Let me just park and wait till the market goes down again. Oh, okay, time to go back in it. Once I understood that, thank you for all of the life experiences so that I could share that with others, so that others can become free from whatever it is that's holding them back. And so I've done that in a lot of different areas, from visibility to understanding value to understanding, how to make movements happen and things like that. And so that's what my work is in the world.
That's awesome. So what can somebody expect from the Wealth and Impact Bootcamp? Is it online? Is it in person?
Yeah, so it's not for everyone. Okay. There's an application process. It really is about people that are looking to, transform their lives, people that are looking to make an impact in the world as well as build wealth and monetize their mission. It's about people that are wanting to discover what that thing is for them. There are a lot of people that are in transition periods. They're either retiring or they're transitioning from one field to the next, or they want to start a new endeavor, right? Or they want to get after that thing that is in their heart and in their spirit and in their soul, that they know that there's something and they just need to discover it.
Yeah.
Right. And be in an environment with other people who have either discovered it because, they are, now influencers or impactors in the world, or they're doing that, or it's someone that is looking to be that, right, in service of humanity. And so we have an application process for that particular program. So if someone, is drawn to this conversation, these are the conversations that exist inside of Wealth and Impact Bootcamp. These are conversations of significance, right? And not only that, but community that is creating impact in the world like that. And so, so if someone's interested in this is speaking to them, they can go to Wealth and Impact Bootcamp and apply. And one of our success team members will reach out and interview and so forth and see if it's a fit like that. But the 100 Days Impact Challenge is an opportunity for anyone, right?
To explain that, because that's someone can get a feel for what it's like working with you, right? Doing this 100-day challenge.
Really, the 100 Days Impact Challenge came out of Wealth and Impact Bootcamp. Okay. So around election time, because every month I do a webinar that, contains a lot of kind of current, it's relevant to you right now material. Mm-hmm. And so around election time, as I was preparing, I was thinking, no matter who's in office or who gets elected in office, we all have the opportunity to elect ourselves. We can all elect ourselves. Now, when you elect yourself, what does that mean? So then you start thinking about elections. Well, it's useful to have a platform that articulates what it is that you care about if you're electing yourself. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you're electing yourself and okay.
We can get to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that question. So if you elect yourself, then there's a world that comes with that. So once you've elected yourself and you're in your office, okay, you're in your office, now what? So Roosevelt, back when the country was coming, the U.S., I know this is an international audience, but in the U.S., when the U.S. was coming out of the Great Depression, Roosevelt set forth the first 100 days, which was designed to help in 100 days get the country out of depression. Okay. And so now that's a tradition that's well known.
Right.
So everyone looks at, the first 100 days of a presidency or the first 100 days of someone becoming CEO.
Right.
You might think about it when you're starting a new job, your first 100 days that you are doing something there, you might be setting a precedent for how you are on the job, how people will relate to you, things, but that's another conversation. So I looked at the 100 days and said, well, you know what? And I said to the Wealth and Impact Bootcamp community, I said, I challenge you to take 100 days and elect your most important aim. And I created a structure that, has like a little bit of social psychology and psychology and some behavior science in it and all the best practices and neuroscience and so forth. I put that in the system and said, okay, and here are the rules.
Yes.
Right? Here are the rules. And so some people in the community took the challenge. And the next month I checked in, and it hadn't even been 100 days. And one person said, you know what? This is changing my life. I have been dealing with some health issues. And in taking this challenge, just in this period of time, I've increased my health and my Lyme disease is going into regression. The next person came on and said, wow, I don't even recognize myself. What would my mama tell me? Because I've just raised all this money for this project in Haiti. And I'm leaving next week to Haiti, right? To take this money for a cleanup project there. And then another musician came on and said, when COVID happened, I stopped performing. My gigs all dried up. And I took on getting on Facebook and doing my repertoire every single day for 100 days. And now people are reaching out to me for performances,
I love that.
out to me for opportunities and so forth. And so I left that call and it just hit me. This is not just a challenge. This is a movement. This is 100 Days Impact movement. And I want to make this available for everyone. I want to make this available for everyone. Anyone that wants to get after something that's of importance to them, that they have the opportunity to have a structure, to have a support system, to have some specialized knowledge that can help guide and instruct their decisions and using what the best practices to do that. And so part of what I did, kind of taking a play from the playbook of Carolyn Bell, my mom, around mentorship, I also created 100-day an impactor inner circle.
Oh, cool.
And so every Monday in the inner circle, I bring on Olympian athletes, celebrity artists, 9-figure entrepreneurs, ministers, relationship experts, things that people take on in the challenge. We pay attention to, in the Wealth and Impact Academy. We pay attention to what people are up to because we want to support them. And so I look and I say, oh, somebody has an entrepreneurial challenge. Let me bring on one of the high-level entrepreneurs into the inner circle to contribute some mentorship. And so what's built into the 100 Days Impact Challenge is the Impactors Inner Circle, where they're able to interact with some mentors, some of my mentors, some of my colleagues, some of my collaborators, some people that I go to that have specialized knowledge in some area that I don't have specialized knowledge in. My go-to person for real estate, right? I just had him on a couple of days ago. And when I think about real estate, he's one of the top real estate people in the country, and he trains agents and all that. I had him on and because someone is doing a real estate challenge, right? And so he came in and, oh my gosh, the gems, the golden nuggets of wisdom, all of that's available inside of the Impactors Inner Circle. And once someone joins the Impactors Inner Circle, they get access to all of those past episodes and interviews and all of that. But anyway, I feel like I'm not only living inside of my purpose, and I'm not just living a life that's designed around helping others, but I get to play with people that really have the heart for humanity and giving, and come from an abundance mindset, and come from a place of sharing and giving and not scarcity.
I can just see the excitement on you when you're talking about it. It seems to me that, I'm just going to guess, I could be way off base, but you've worked with some of the biggest artists, Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg. But it seems to me like your 100-day challenge and your boot camp and the stuff that you're doing to help people create and lead their own movements, is what really lights you up.
Yeah. So So I want to answer
Patrice
PJ's question here. How do you make a movement happen? What is the one thing you should be sure to do? So there are a few things about movements. Every single movement started with one person. And I'm not just talking about you. You don't have a movement when it's just you, right? You have the possibility of a movement with just you. So there's articulating the values of the movement, understanding what it is that you're trying to move, right? What is it that you're trying to move? Because when you look at the word movement, it's moving something. So being clear on what it is that you're looking to move, and then, well, why are you looking to move that? So there's the inquiry into, well, why is that important to me? Why do I care about that? And then, are there other people that care about that? Who are those other people that care about that? And not only who are those other people that care about that, but who are those other people that are already doing something about that? You might want to know who those people are, right? Because those are people that you could collaborate with. And then you look at it like, I mean, starting a movement is like starting a business. How's the movement going to get funded? Right? There's no difference between starting a business and starting a movement.
Mm-hmm.
You still need an audience. You still need to articulate the value and how people want to participate. If it's a movement that's happening socially, you might want to hire some people to support the online interaction or create ads or what depending upon whatever your movement is. If it's a physical movement, you need to, bring in the microphones and the speaker system, and if maybe hire security, right? So I mean,
resources.
Yes, it's going to take some resources. So one thing I would say to be sure to do is to think of your movement like you think of building a business. And so inside of Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, there are movements that are being created because there's a system that I've designed to help people think through what's needed. And it's the same things that need to be thought through in terms of creating a business. And so when I look at the movement makers, they're applying what I'm talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times movements die because people feel like, oh, they don't care, right? I'm not getting enough people to care about it. Well, if you look at like the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, right? There was this, and then an event happened, and then there was that. Mm-hmm. And this, and if you're listening to this, doing levels with my hands,
right?
Right? Because if you are not giving up on your movement, maybe it's just not the right timing. But you've created the foundation already because you've done the accurate thinking and designed the movement, right? And you know what it is that you want to move. And if it hasn't moved yet, I mean, are you going to stop? No. Movement makers don't stop. There may just be another platform, another vehicle for having that movement manifest in the world.
I'm glad you asked that question, PJ, because, I started that onward movement. And sometimes I think, I don't know, it's not moving the way I want to or where I want it to go. And I'm not quitting. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
I have 1,400 people in my group, but I'm not stopping. PJ's trying to get 1 million in her movement.
Listen, if you have 1,400 people in your group, think of it like this. I would suggest.
Yes.
Can you get 1,400 people in your house?
No. Yes. Through Zoom.
I'm talking about in your physical house.
No.
No. 1,400 people is a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you start thinking about the people, not the number, and if you start going through the world and you're like looking like when I went to this ball game some months back, and I'm there in the stadium, and I'm looking at the amount of people in the stadium. I didn't look up to see how many people were in the stadium. It looked like 10,000 people to me.
Yeah.
So okay, let's say there was 10,000 people there. All right. Now, if I look at the number in social media of 10,000 people, that's one thing. But if you look at what 10,000 people actually, what that looks like, that gives you a whole other perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you have 1,400 people that are interested in what you are doing in the world, Emily, do you know that with 1,400 people, you can reach the entire world?
Yeah.
See, the way things go viral, it's like this water bottle. So if I give this water bottle to you and you give it to someone else and then give it to someone else and give it to someone else, you know, it'll be all around the planet.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Start with one person passing.
You're right.
The
PJ
water
said,
bottle.
yeah. She said, super simple answers that are so impactful. Yes. Yes. That was a very impactful answer. So what is it like working with these stars?
Listen, you know, people get caught up in celebrity.
Uh-huh.
I've been fortunate all my life to be around celebrity. My whole life, my mom being a national. So I've seen a lot. There are Congress people and senators that I know and things like that. See, I don't look at people from that lens of like the celebrity, right? That's the outward expression of some skill or some value that they have created and articulated in a marketplace. So I interact with whether it's a billionaire or you know, a senator or a pop star, the way I'm interacting with you, Emily.
I love it. I love it. You're just such a real person.
See, here's the thing, you know, we as human beings, again, is back, you know, we're going full circle to the beginning of our conversation. It's the value expressed in the marketplace. And some people have had vehicles to have that expressed in more exposed ways. And so, you know, as I've seen the journey of many and helped support it, many along their journeys, and I continue to support as many people in gaining visibility for the things that they care about, the things that they want to move in the world, the things they want to move in their lives, the things that they want to move in their families, in their relationships, the things that they want to move, right? It doesn't matter to me how known someone is. What matters to me is the human being that they are.
Yeah.
So what it's like being with, you know, some of the wealthiest people, some of the most known people in the world is like this, being with this audience, being with the PJs, being with Emily, right? Because we all connect from an inner potential place, an inner possibility place. And to me, that's what living is all about. And if Emily, your movement goes from 1,400 to 1.4 million, then what? Right?
Then what I got?
What are you going to do with that? And those are the questions. When your movement, PJ, happens and you hit over 1 million people, then what? Then what?
PJ and I are meeting next week. We'll talk about then what.
Yeah. Maybe you and PJ might want to, you know, apply for Wealth and Impact Bootcamp.
We might.
Yeah. And anybody else listening that this conversation is speaking to, because, you know, there's a little secret. I'm looking for 100 global impactors to support creating the movements to create movements.
PJ said her next thing is 2 million people. There she goes.
So PJ, I would say add some zeros. Why not 2 trillion people? How can you impact 2 trillion people? What does that mean to impact 2 trillion people?
It means you've left a legacy, impacting people that are coming up, like your 6-year-old daughter.
And the 6-year-old daughter's daughter. And then,
yeah.
Right? So we can all elevate our big to bigger. And we can all go from success to significance. And so, yeah.
Such a great interview. You've been through so much, accomplished so much. What are some of the main things that you've learned about yourself in this journey?
To learn about myself?
That you have learned about yourself.
Yeah. To learn
about yourself. Myself. Okay. Yeah. To keep learning about yourself. Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
On purpose.
Yeah. I love that.
Intentionally.
Yeah.
Right. So, the growing never stops. I haven't graduated from this body yet. Right. So I'm still in school. Right. So there's this narrative that school stops once you graduate wherever level you graduate from. Right. But I'm a lifelong learner. And in fact, I mean, as long as I have my mental capacities, I'm still going to be learning intentionally. And then let's say my mental capacities leave, then I hope that my body will still be learning.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so that's the biggest thing that I've learned is to keep learning and keep investing. So I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on gaining specialized knowledge, taking classes, taking courses, and all that. And so, like I said, the best investment that I've ever made was in myself. And so I encourage everyone to invest in themselves, whether it's my program or anything that will give you specialized knowledge or a new way to look at life, right? Look for opportunities to invest in yourself. I love spending money on myself.
Since I graduated in May of 2019. Since I graduated, I haven't added it all up, but probably like 80 to 90,000 I've spent on me. Yeah. And invested is what I call it, not spent. And I had to change my money mindset because I had worked for the government my whole life. The government paid for my college education and my training. I'd never invested in myself. It was nothing to send my kid to camp or to do this for my son or my daughter, but for me, I hadn't done that.
Listen, let me tell you. So there's a woman in Wealth and Impact Bootcamp. Her name is Sista, right? Wanda Sista Perry. And she comes from a military background as well. And she's helping veterans, right, discover their voices, right? And she's using film and she has all these different tactics to support women veteran. And so when she came into Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, right, same type of thing, right? It's like, okay, she came in with a big, and then what I've seen her do is so much bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Because she invested in herself.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you're talking about investing in self. And so that's the biggest thing. Like PJ says here, the most important person you will ever meet is you. And the most important person you'll ever invest in is you.
You're so right. You're so right. I'm so glad we got on this podcast together. Let me just show a couple of your banners. I've showed the Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, and we know about the 100 Days Challenge, and I'll put it in the show notes when I publish the episode too, because you'll be continuously doing this challenge, right? Or is it?
Oh, I'm in the challenge. I'm in a challenge right now. I'm in a LinkedIn challenge. Right.
Okay.
And so if someone wants to reach out to me, do reach out to me on LinkedIn and so forth. I'm Marcus Bellringer on LinkedIn, and you'll see me with this hat. If you I wear this hat in the profile picture, And I stack challenges. Like, I believe in stacking challenges.
Okay.
Right. And so my first challenge was doing 100 videos, which when people join the 100 days with a Z impact challenge at 100 days with it, as you see in the scrolling ticker at the bottom of the screen for those that are seeing this. And so I'm a practitioner, right? So it's not just like, oh, I learned some stuff and I'm sharing it. No, I practice all of it. And so I'm right now inside of 100 Days Impact Challenge myself with a LinkedIn challenge. And so I just had a post that went viral on, in my 6th day. And viral is like, it's like the biggest amount of engagement and response that I've had on a post. And so, and that's coming out of the LinkedIn Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, which I started recently with Dan Burris. And so I've just been applying the things that we're training people in, and things are happening out of my challenge.
That's awesome. So, and you've got a production. How did you come up with Bellringer?
Yeah. So I didn't come up with it. I was working with this artist that I was working on this project, and it was with some former gang members. And we were in a recording studio working and went to take a break with one of the rappers. And I'm on the way, to this corner store to grab something, a snack with him. And I said, I need to come up with a producer name or like an artist name. They're like all these, you got Babyface, you have, Timbaland, you have like all these cool Dr. Dre, right? All these names of producers. And he looks at me, he's like, oh, that's easy. You're Bellringer. And Emily, I said, whoa, wait, okay. So for about 2 weeks, I just let it marinate and process. And it's kind of like the reticular activating system. Do you know about the reticular activating system? Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, the reticular activating system is a part of the brain where when you say red and you look around an environment, you start seeing red everywhere. When he said Bellringer, my reticular activating system lit up, and for 2 weeks, all I could hear was Bellringer everywhere. It was songs, it was in commercials. People were saying Bellringer. Somebody was saying, who's gonna ring the bell for social justice? Who's gonna ring the bell for rights? Who's gonna ring the bell for the people that need hope? Who's gonna ring the bell? And I was like, okay, I get it. I am the Bellringer.
Thank you so much, Marcus, for being on the Onward podcast. Let's see, we have a couple comments here. Oh, yeah, PJ says, love the hat. And yes, thank you so much. I'm going to end this show. And then if you can just wait in the green room or whatever, how it is on StreamYard, we'll say our goodbyes. But any last minute words of advice for the listeners, the ones now and the ones that are going to listen and watch it later and listen to the podcast later?
Yeah, so I would just say this is not advice. This is just a suggestion.
Yes.
I suggest, in fact, you know what? I'll go from suggestion to a challenge.
A challenge, okay.
I challenge you to ask those questions that we have talked about in this conversation. The now what questions, the movement questions. What is it that I want to move in my life? What is it that I want to move in the world, in my community, in my family, in my relationships? Ask those questions of yourself. And then if what I've talked about here resonates with you and you want a structure to support that answer that you come up with, then do reach out by joining the 100 Days Impact Challenge with a Z. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, apply for Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, We're a support structure. I challenge you to invest in yourself, whether it's through the environments and the structures that I've created or others have created. Whatever it is that calls to you, invest in yourself and love yourself and hold some compassion for yourself, no matter wherever you are, what it is that you're dealing with, whatever situation you're traversing. Hold some compassion for yourself and those other human beings that are trying to make it like you in this world. Much love and light.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for listening today. I put links to Marcus's Instagram as well as his challenge and his Wealth and Impact Bootcamp and a book that he's written in the show notes. So check them out. This Onward podcast episode is brought to you by my business, Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. Have you joined the Onward movement? We talked about the Onward movement in this interview. The Onward movement is all about embracing authenticity, releasing the fear of judgment so that you can create the life of your dreams with confidence. The Onward movement right now is a Facebook group, but soon we'll be having retreats and much more. I also offer coaching, so check out my website at emilyharmon.com. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for listening. Let's move onward together.